Hey guys, Jason here. In this video, I'm going to give you some extremely helpful tips for palm muting on your 7-string guitar. Wait a minute, that's not my 7-string. On a 7-string guitar. Now there's two reasons why I'm making this video for you. Number one, you guys are all metal guitar players. If you're on my channel, I assume that. So you probably started out playing a 6-string guitar and you started out playing a lot of the traditional thrash metal style riffs. And so a lot of that palm muting and fast picking and some downstroking going on there. But when you switch over to a 7-string guitar, everything kind of changes. It's not quite as tight. So I'm going to show you how to get over that. The second reason is real simple. This channel is all about helping you guys become better metal guitarists. So let's get to it. Here's some riffs that I'm going to teach you. Now, if you notice, there's 3 riffs throughout what I just played for you, and each one has a slightly different style of palm muting going on. So we're going to learn how to do that, and I'm going to show you how to do that as efficiently as possible. So let's bring it in close, and let's play some metal riffs with palm muting on our 7-string. This is like a weapon. All right, so this first riff is really kind of a classic thrash style metal riff. So I'm going to play it for you kind of at normal speed, and then we'll break it down, and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing and how I'm getting a very clear palm muted tone. Now for this first riff, again, this is like a classic metal style riff, and I love this style of metal, by the way. So we're doing downstrokes. We're palm muting with the downstrokes at first, throw in some power chords, but that last piece, we're doing some alternate picking, which is more of that galloping style of metal. Now this goes way back to some of the older Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, Testament, all those, Megadeth, all those bands there. They just named the Big 4 plus one. I never figured out why Testament wasn't in the Big 4. They should have been like the Big 5. I always thought they were deserving of that. Anyway, that's a side note. But the way I'm doing this on a 7-string, because here's the problem, guys. When you play on a 6-string guitar, you can kind of loosely palm mute and you know, do your thing on there without even thinking about it. But when you get to the 7-string, there's a tendency to be muddy, and for that note not to sound quite as, you know, out there and pronounced. So what I do, and I'm going to show you this up close, is I rest my palm a little firmer. There's 2 things here. I rest my palm a little firmer on the bridge, and I also rest it like right on top of the bridge, because you don't want your palm pressing on the string, because that'll make you play out of key, slightly out of key. You know, your note will be just a little sharp, and you don't want that. If your palm is too loose, then it has a tendency to sound really muddy, and that's not what you want. You want those notes to be pronounced, even when you're palm muting. So let me play it again a little bit slower. Now for this second riff, we're getting a little bit more into that faster thrash metal playing. We're still going to be palm muting, guys, but we're going to be doing more fast alternate picking here. So here's what this riff sounds like. Now, this riff is very similar to Metallica's Fight Fire with Fire off the Ride the Lightning album. I kind of like ripped it off from them. I actually have a song on an album I have coming out in September. It's nothing like Fight Fire with Fire, but this one particular technique where you're playing an open note starting out with that and then coming down on that second fret and then just going all out with that alternate picked palm mute, it just sounds killer to me. So what I'm doing here is I'm not really using the same palm muting technique as we did with that first riff. Here my palm is a little looser off of the bridge there, off the string. So I don't want to say I'm barely palm muting, but it's just a little bit lighter, almost like what you would normally palm mute on a 6-string guitar. And the reason for that is because we're going fast on the alternate picking. So I'm gonna raise it up just a little bit, and here's kind of an example, and that just helps with the clarity of the notes. Now the second part of this riff, and I'll play this again for you here a little bit slower, the second part, the same concept, because we're playing faster, alternate picking, more of that really fast thrash metal style, but again, I'm not full on palm muting, and this is actually how I palm mute most of the time playing this style of music. My palm is, again, slightly off. It's still over the bridge, but it's slightly off the string, and sometimes I'll even kind of come off and on with my palm. And that just helps with the clarity of the notes. So let's go through this one more time. Alright guys, now for our final riff, and there's going to be something unique about this riff that we did not do in the first two, so I want you to figure out what that is. So what was different about this riff that we did not do in the first two riffs? You didn't touch your B string, except for that very last note, but that doesn't count. So guys, I had you hang off of the B string for an extremely valid reason, and that's simply because as a 7-string guitarist, you have a tendency just to play those heaviest notes possible. I get that, I totally understand it, it's great because it's heavy and it's just brutal, but I want you guys to venture out away from that sometimes, right? You don't always have to play the heaviest notes possible. You don't always even have to be on the heaviest string on your guitar. Now, there's nothing super special about the palm muting effect here. I want to say the regular way, there's probably no regular way. I mean, everybody plays a little differently. I'm just giving you guys tips to help me. But my normal way of palm muting on a 6-string guitar is my palm's on there. It's not quite super on top of the bridge. Super on top, it's not really a term, is it? It's not really like directly on top of the bridge, but it's actually a little onto the string there, but not enough to where I'm screwing up the actual note. And my palm's not placed super firm on there, not too firm, not too light, it's just kind of like medium, whatever that means. So that's my normal way of palm muting, and that kind of has always worked for me. So that's really all I'm doing, but again, I'm gonna go through this slow, and I just want you to get used to, playing the palm muting styles I just taught you for those other notes, especially when you're playing that B string, but then being able to switch from that and go to those other strings that you would normally play on a 6-string guitar. Alright guys, now for the number one question. Wait, that's two. Number one question I have for you, and please comment, did this video help you in any way? And also I want to know, is palm muting something that maybe you struggle with a little bit when you first bought your 7-string guitar? And have you ever really gotten over that hump? Because again, I know when I started playing a 7-string, this has been a little over a year ago, that was one of the many challenges I had. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to palm mute like I'm playing my 6-string, but it just doesn't sound quite right, It sounds okay playing out in the room, but when I record it and start adding in more instruments, I'm like, okay, well, this sounds kind of muddy. So I kind of stepped back and reverse engineered the whole process of palm muting on a 7-string guitar and figured out these techniques I just taught you. So guys, I really hope they help you. Let me know in the comments, and guys, I appreciate your support. As always, keep it metal.